Hi there, in this video you're going to learn about biased and unbiased samples. Your objectives for today are to identify various sampling techniques and to determine the validity of a sample and predict the actions across a larger group. Your vocabulary. So there's a lot of vocabulary words in this lesson that's very heavily vocabulary based. So before you can actually get to answering any questions, you need to understand the vocabulary. So suppose a school conducted a survey about new clubs. They cannot survey every student, so they randomly selected a smaller group called a sample that is chosen from the larger group or a population. Okay, so a sample is a smaller group of a population, which is a larger group. The best sample is an unbiased sample, or one that is representative of the larger sample, selected at random without any preference, and large enough to provide accurate data. If a sample is too small, data accurately representing the larger population may not be available. Okay, so yeah, the sample again, right? That's a smaller group. Population is a larger group. Unbiased, it has to have all three of these things in order to be unbiased. And it has to be selected at random, so that means without preference. Unbiased samples. So these are examples of unbiased samples. So a simple random sample is when each item or person in the population is as likely to be chosen as any other. So, for example, 30 student ID numbers are randomly selected by a computer. You could also say, like, everybody's names are written down on little slips of paper and put into a hat. That's also a simple random sample. A stratified random sample is a population is divided into smaller or similar, non-overlapping groups. A simple random sample is then selected from each group. So, for example, a population of election districts can be separated into urban, suburban, and rural strata. And then systematic random sample is the items or people are selected according to a specific time or time interval, or item interval, sorry. So every 20 minutes a customer is chosen, or every 10th customer in line, I don't know, a coupon is given out or something. Okay, so that would be a systematic random sample. There's a system to it. A biased sample is a sample that's not representative of a population, so it usually favors certain parts of a population over others. So examples of biased samples. One is a convenience sample where it includes members of the population that are easily accessed. So the first 10 students that are in the cafeteria line get sampled about the cafeteria. That is convenience. You're only surveying them because they're the first 10 students that walked in the room. It's easiest for you, right? Or, what about everybody going to a Drake concert? If they get surveyed as to who their favorite artist is, they're all going to say Drake, right? A voluntary response sample involves only those who want to participate in the sampling, who want or can, sorry. So an example of that would be the principal sent an email to graduating seniors asking them where to hold commencement. Seniors are asked to vote through an online poll. So this is voluntary. This is whether they want to do it or not. To determine the types of music a concert hall's customers like best, all people attending a country music concert are surveyed. Identify the sample as biased or unbiased and describe its type. Explain your reasoning. All right, well, it says all the people are attending a country music concert. Okay, so they're the ones that are being surveyed. If they're asked what type of music they like, what do you think they're going to say? Obviously, they're going to say that country is their favorite, right? Because they're at a country music concert. So for the most part, this is actually biased. This is actually an example of a convenient sample. You're just sampling them because it's convenient to do so. So since the attendees at a country music concert, probably for country music, the sample is biased. Okay, the sample is a convenient sample since all the people surveyed are in one location. To determine which passengers' carry-on bags are to be inspected, every 8th person to check in will have his or her bags inspected. Identify the sample as biased or unbiased and describe its type. Explain your reasoning. So every 8th person to check in will have his or her bags inspected. Well, that looks a lot like this, a systematic random sample. The items or people are selected according to a specific time or at an interval. So if we notice, this would be unbiased, right? Because they're it is technically random, right? Every eighth person, but you can't determine who that eighth person is going to be. You don't know. So this is technically still unbiased, and it is an example of a systematic random sample. People are selected based on an interval. Let's look at another example. A pet store mailed a survey to residents to determine their favorite pets. 50 people responded, and the results are shown in the table. Is the sampling method valid? Well, this should give it away. It mailed a survey, okay, and 50 people responded. So they choose whether or not they want to respond. So this is actually an example of voluntary response sample because they're choosing whether or not they want to respond. They got it in the mail. It's, oh, I'm going to respond. I really, love my cats or something. So they're going to want to respond to something like that, okay? But if you don't have pets, are you even going to bother responding? I don't know. All right, and then the last example, a university polled 500 of its students, randomly selecting them proportional to the number of students enrolled in each degree program. Classify the sampling method. So you're starting with the university with 500 students, and you're placing them into groups determined by their degree program. Okay, so that actually sounds a lot like this, a stratified random sample. The population is divided into similar, non-overlapping groups, right? Similar groups. They're all grouped based on their degree program. So that would be, a stratified. They're put into groups first based on the degree program they're in. So some concluding thoughts. If a sample is unbiased, it is simple, stratified, or systematic. If it is biased, it is convenient or voluntary. So if you are unsure of where to go from here, just make sure you know these 5 different samples very well, and you won't have a problem determining whether it's biased or unbiased and whatnot. All right, thank you for watching. I hope you learned about biased and unbiased samples.